Welcome to another round of the run-up here on the SDH Network. John Nelson here, Jason Longshore there, Jarrett Smith joining us here in just a little bit on the audio side of things. Usually Kelly Francis is here with us, but Kelly is in the center of all that is honking horns in the new Casa de Kelly, so it might be a little difficult to hear Kelly tonight, but she is in an environment where there are a lot of honking horns. And so she let us know that up front. So she is with us in spirit. She might join us at some point in the show, so we'll keep an eye on that. Jason, last regular season run-up of the year, Decision Day. The Eastern Conference is at one kickoff time. The Western Conference is another kickoff time. But Atlanta United, they take care of business. They make it to the postseason.
No, not quite that simple.
That's true. You take care of your own business, it's a better chance that you will. So that is correct.
How dare you?
You got to get a little bit of help here. You got to take care of business, period. Settle down, Jarrett. You got to take care of business, period. But, yes, you do need either Montreal or Chicago to not win. They can draw. That's fine. Montreal goes to Audi Field to play DC United. Chicago hosts NYC. Both are underdogs in those scenarios, but you need one of them to not win if you win to get in the door.
Right. Jarrett, since you've joined us already doing the NWO Scott Hall greeting, so what's on your mind as we're heading into Decision Day 2020 with all of the permutations and combinations that are in play?
Yeah, so I don't want this to come across as negative because I know everybody's been negative pretty much all year. So please don't take it as a negative. But this is your second shot in a sense. If you think back to Orlando in the MLS's back tournament, you had a chance to get out of that group after a mess. You had a chance to get out of that group. You were going to need a little help. All you had to do, though, was beat Columbus. Welcome to November. What is it? Man, I don't even know what it is. It is the 7th. So welcome to November 8th, where it's been an up and down season. Your coach has mutually agreed to part ways. You lost your spark plug, really, who was of your designated players, who was seeing the most time when you sold him to Al Nassr. And at the end of it all, you can make it if you get a little help. And you beat Columbus. Time's a flat circle. It's doable. And I think this is a gut check moment for you because I don't disagree with Stephen Glass that if this team does get into the playoffs, they can cause problems. Because if you do get in, you're going to go in on a 2-game winning streak for one thing. Second thing, Atlanta's got enough raw just technical skill and talent around you that I think a lot of teams go in facing Atlanta in 2020 as the rightful favorites, especially some of these playoff teams. You don't really want to play them over 90 minutes, though, do you? And have, like, Marcelino Moreno hit a Golazo and you lose, like, 1-0 after Atlanta gets a Golazo and kind of shores things up a bit. Playoffs are weird. Nobody really wants to deal with them because they're weird. And I mean, you got to get in, but you got to go do what you couldn't do in Orlando, which is beat Columbus and get the bit of help you need.
But that's all you want is a chance, though, Jarrett, right? You want to get the chance to get into the postseason because, as we've seen in other sports, you hop in as the 8th seed, you run a heater, as they say, in Vegas, and then you end up, taking it all by the time that you're done. But that's all you're looking for is that chance.
I'm looking to be like 2017 Columbus. I think that 2017 Columbus was doing better than what we've seen Atlanta do in the second half of the year. Injuries and missing guys and, coach coming out the window, all things considered. Also, Columbus wasn't sure if they were going to be in Columbus the next year. But you got on a team that wasn't necessarily as good as some of the teams they beat, got on a heater. Dallas Mavericks back in the day, getting blown out in the first round of the playoffs as the number 1 seed. Got beat by a team on a heater. New York Giants won the Super Bowl one year as a 6 seed, I believe, wild card. As you said, get on a heater. You come in on a 2-game winning streak, you start feeling like you're in tall cotton. then anything can happen.
One piece of news that has a bit of an impact outside of this particular match that we haven't had the chance to get your opinion on yet. The rescinding of the Nani red card that happened this morning while we were on the Power Hour. What do you think?
So here's the thing about the Nani red card. When I saw it live, I was like, that doesn't look great. And then I kept seeing it live. I'm like, I can see why they're upset with that. And then I saw the slowed down version and then the still shot of Nani's cleats going into the guy's leg. I'm like, if that's what VAR looked at, I can see why they gave him a red. Because whenever I see that replayed on Twitter from everyone, all I'm seeing is the live action angle. Like, no. Slow it down and see the cleats into the leg. Oh, he got the ball first. So did Greg Garza when he got sent off for the same thing 3 years ago. Like, I mean, if you get the ball first and your foot skips off the ball and goes into someone's leg, they will give a red for that. There's precedent for it. We've seen it. It sucks. It's tough luck sometimes. It really is. I'm a little surprised they rescinded it, given what we saw from that slow-mo shot and as much steam as Orlando made about it. Because in my mind, like I said, when you see it live action, I think it doesn't look necessarily exactly like a red card tackle. But I think when you slow it down, you get that still shot of his foot bouncing off the ball and going spikes into the shin bone. And I see why you went red there. And to pull it back, I think it does encourage other teams of, hey, if we make enough noise, we might be able to get this thing rescinded. MLS might have caused themselves more trouble. But if you're Orlando, like, it's good for Orlando because guess what? You won that game anyway. Nani ended up getting a nice little bit of rest, and he doesn't have to miss this next game.
And I guess we've come to the conclusion that maybe if you cry and have histrionics, you'll get a red eventually rescinded.
Maybe. We'll see. What's that, Lucy? A football for me to kick? I know Jason's upset about it. Like I said, when I saw the live action, I was like, man, that's an ugly tackle. And the more I looked at it, I was like, I don't know about that. And then when I saw the slow mode version that wasn't making the rounds, like, oh, that's why. Because his foot bounced off the ball and spiked the guy in the leg, which sucks. But again, that's a red.
So now as we look at all of the subplot and the subtext of what's going on, who do you think, when you look at the other matchups of the teams that are above Atlanta United, for them to get above the playoff bar by the end of decision day, you're looking at NYCFC, who is now a slight favorite. That has changed over the last couple of days with juice boxes. Chicago.
I just have Ronnie Dyla back at Celtic instead. How about that?
NYCFC is a plus 150. Chicago is a plus 156. Your draw is a plus 280. And then Montreal is a plus 202 going to DC. DC is a plus 125. What do you think about those other two matchups leading into what Atlanta United is going to be looking at?
In a vacuum, I would not really be excited about DC, but DC's played well. Aside from the fact that they absolutely dropped a brick with a 2-goal lead against New England. That was amazing. They also have to be absolutely kicking themselves because DC was in that kind of race as well. I don't think DC's actually out of the playoff race. I just think they need a lot more help than Atlanta. But DC was in good shape. They had a 2-0 lead on New England and lost that game 4-3.
In a monsoon.
My God. What are you doing?
Welcome to 2020.
And then, in New York City is just, I don't know, man. I watched enough Ronnie Dyla in the past to know that, the playoffs, if it's kind of like some things I've seen him do in the past, New York could be one and done, or they could get on. They are absolutely a team that could get on a damn heater in the playoffs and just play a couple teams off the field for a round or two. It's just the Ronnie Dyla thing of when it clicks into a damn monsoon, but it doesn't necessarily stay clicked on forever.
Jason, what's on your mind for Jarrett?
When you look at Columbus here lately, what worries you about them playing Atlanta?
Being able to get out of a press. Do I have to put $1 into a bucket if I mention Darlington Nagbe's name?
No, he's an important part.
Because I know everyone fawns over it, and I get it, man. I miss him too. But Atlanta, when they do step up, and they do try and catch Columbus in that press, all I can think about is you've seen it happen in the past where Atlanta's done that, and they create the opportunity. Man, Nagby's just so hard to press and is so good at being able to control the ball in tight spaces and find that play to get them out of that press. And then they've got the talent on the top end, and this wasn't always necessarily the case in years past, but they've got the playmakers and the talent on the top end now that if they break that press, they can break the top of the can wide open and toss it out the window. And then they have the striker who should be starting for the U.S. national team.
They do.
I've heard of him.
They do. Well, I mean, I think Chiefs coach Steve said this on the Twitch pitch. I worry about the part from the starting whistle to the closing whistle, and I ask him why. And I think if you haven't been paying attention to Columbus lately, and you remembered the borderline tongue bath they were getting in the middle of the year, they're not that team right now. They're not. They've won 2 of 9. I mean, it's showing.
Nagby missing kind of threw them off their kilter.
And 100% did.
And I think they're kind of like a kid on a bicycle with the pedals are spinning, and they just haven't been able to grab the pedals with their feet and get back to pedaling yet.
Nagby's played 4 games, the last 4 here. He came back and he played 63 minutes at Houston. He came off the bench in the match at D.C. and played 33 minutes. He played 90 against Philadelphia, and he was only able to go 69 against Orlando. And what grabbed my attention after that match more than anything was Caleb Porter talking about his team being tired. And he said, I have to attribute, and this isn't an excuse at all, but I do think a lot of it is attributed to fatigue, mental fatigue. Some of the decisions, these aren't cognitive things that happen. The individuals that are making those decisions aren't really like our team. And he said this about Nagby and Zelarayan, who are both coming back from injury at about the same point. They both played in the last 4. It took a little bit longer for Zelarayan to get going. He said about them, who only played 69 minutes on Wednesday. They had both played 90 against Philly last weekend. He said they were dead. They were an injury risk. They played a lot more minutes than we actually had planned. And, that was a question in the Twitch pitch as well about, what was it about Orlando that how did they take advantage of Columbus? Fatigue. I think it's fatigue. So you get into a situation where you're looking at, yes, Nagby is good at getting you out of a pressing situation, but what about Jonathan Mensah, who's making some big mistakes right now? He's played every minute of every game, and it shows, and they don't really have anywhere to turn. Abubakar Keita has played almost every minute of every game during that 9-game stretch.
Brooks Lennon syndrome, man.
But they don't have. It's not the Brooks Lennon syndrome in that there are other options, and Brooks.
No, I mean it lots of minutes, and you just see mistakes after the mental and physical.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like but the problem is for Atlanta, you had the Brooks Lennon breakdown game in Nashville, where he just you could watch him break down physically and mentally. You could give him time off. Like, there's nobody to play for Jonathan Mensah. There wasn't anybody to play for Jonathan Mensah up until Josh Williams came back. Williams was suspended for 4 games. So he was on the bench for this last one, but do you really want to turn away from a player in Mensah who's an MLS Defender of the Year candidate and sit him on decision day? Even though he probably needs to. You
what's
can't.
The stakes for Columbus?
Well, they could fall out of hosting a quarterfinal.
Yep. Yeah.
New York City could pass
if
them.
They were in that situation or not. That's why I asked.
Yeah, New York City could pass them. So they can't just – they're not locked into anything. So they have to try to go with the best thing. So let's go back to what you were saying about the press. I think even though you do worry about Nagby being good at getting out of tight spaces, you worry about Zelarayan hurting you when he gets out on the break. None of them are at full strength. They've played a lot of soccer here lately, and it's starting to show. 2 wins in 9 says a lot.
I also think you got to be quick defensively in terms of when you do step up and press, and you know Atlanta will. I think, especially if Atlanta goes in there with a healthy squad, they're going to go in and do that. And if they break, foul. Like, Be smart about it. Like we've seen Atlanta be smart about it recently. I think the first time for me where, I don't know about y'all, where it really clicked that Atlanta seemed to be embracing it was the Dallas win, where they racked up a bunch of fouls, and it was professional fouls that they weren't getting a yellow, like they weren't stopping a wide open break. But anytime Dallas tried to get something going, Atlanta just threw the kibosh on it. And it's been kind of hit and miss at times. I think that, sometimes the situation calls for it, sometimes it doesn't. It happens. But, man, give me some of that this weekend where, Columbus breaks. Cool, foul. We're not going to let you break.
Yeah, they need to get that aggressiveness back. They had that against Dallas. They had that in some games afterwards. They need to, with a full week of rest, they need to get back to where you're getting into a lot of tackles, you're committing fouls, you're picking passes off. They need to get back to those numbers because it's worn down a little bit. The Cincinnati game probably would have had some of it, but you didn't need to because you got early goals, so the game state changed. You need to get that aggressiveness back that kind of got lost a little bit.
Yeah, Jarrett, here's your three groups heading into Decision Day in the East. Philadelphia, Toronto, Orlando. Philadelphia, Toronto, each at 44. Identical win-loss records, but the goal difference for Philadelphia is at a plus 14 over Toronto. Orlando City's at 41 points, so I don't think they can do anything better than a 2, right, Jason, if things fall their way?
Columbus?
Orlando.
I believe that is right.
Because if they win, Toronto loses. They're both at 44, but the goal difference gets to Toronto still has more wins, but Orlando City has larger goal difference.
Yeah, or actually, Orlando can't get to the 2.
They can't, right, because of Toronto having 13
Yeah,
wins.
they can't get to the 2.
Okay, so if they win, then they're locked into the 3. If they lose, then they're stuck at 41. Then math could happen with Columbus one way or the other. If Columbus gets a favorable result, if Columbus loses, which is what Atlanta United fans are looking for, if NYC wins, NYC could go to 39 points. Columbus Crew would be stuck at 38.
Yeah. That's the risk for Columbus is then, if you're going to play New York City, and that's the drawing you would have if things get to that point. Right now, you'd host it. That could flip-flop. You don't want to go to Yankee Stadium in a do-or-die playoff game.
Yeah, but good on. I mean, we've talked about this, in green rooms, but I don't know if Ronnie Deila survives 2021 necessarily. But hey man, a lot worse fates than what he's basically done right now with them, all things considered.
Yeah,
considered Abear couldn't hit water falling out of a boat for a while.
They've gotten healthy is the biggest thing. I mean, they've won 3 in a row coming into Decision Day where they go to Chicago. That should make Atlanta fans feel pretty good. Before that, they lost 2 of 3, but then they won 3 in a row before that. So they've kind of gone on a couple of these little streaks. But this last run of 3, and I think he's dialing it up at the right time because you beat Montreal. Okay, that's decent. You won in Hartford. That's a good win. You spanked the Red Bulls 5-2. That's a great win. And now you get a chance to go to Chicago and finish off the regular season in a big way. And you've got Maxi Morales back, like Valentin Castellanos is scoring goals. You're in a really good spot right now if you're New York City. And you don't want to go there in a playoff game if you're Columbus. So they're going to do everything possible to avoid it.
Jared, because they're going to score, and Castellanos is going to draw like 3 yellow cards off of you.
Probably.
Yeah. No, Jarrett, when you look at Atlanta United over this last stretch of games under Stephen Glass, with Marcelino Moreno integrating into the lineup and seeing what he's been able to do as he's become more of the player that you're anticipating, knocking some of the rust off, getting acquainted with his players more than just coming out there onto the pitch and wearing a name tag saying, hello, my name is, and getting out there and playing. What's it been like for you to see Moreno integrate into that midfield?
I mean, man, for me, Moreno's just that dude who's making everybody else better around him. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean it like in a negative way to him. Marcelino Moreno is really damn good. Marcelino Moreno is also making guys better around him, and I think gives them confidence. Thing I go back to is watching Rossetto and Heinemann. I feel like when they play with him, they almost feed off of his swagger, and they seem more, I don't want to necessarily say aggressive, but more adventurous to try stuff. I mean, try combinations, the way they move, the way they're carrying themselves. It almost just seems like he kind of emits a swagger that is contagious. And I like it. I want to see what it looks like when you've got everyone healthy next year. No matter what happens Sunday after 90 minutes. But I do love the swagger that he brings. And it's just, I know he talked about not wanting to talk to the media not that often because he's just not a talkative guy, but he's doing his talking on the field, man. And the swagger for me is just, it's contagious, and it just seems like guys feed off of it, which is great in that midfield, depending on how you want to shape it up for what might be a playoff run, and then how you want to shape it up next year. I don't know who they're going to bring in. I know that is a point of consternation for a lot of people, but having a guy who can play as an 8 who adventures forward, who can be, a contagious.
Jarrett went full robot on us.
Swagger monster. I like it.
Yeah, he's gotten better every game. That's the biggest thing about Moreno is, he's coming off of not playing since the beginning of March. He goes straight into the team against the Red Bulls and was all right for 45. I thought he was solid for 45. The game against Toronto, he was pushing through. He did the best he could. He was okay. A little bit better against DC on October 24th. He was very good in the loss against Orlando. I think that game, the result clouds a lot of people's minds on it. The midfield was very good. I thought the team was very good as a whole going forward. They didn't get the goals to show for it, and you see what happens when you don't score. You're going to get punished for it. Orlando punished you. But I thought that was a better performance than the DC and the Toronto games. Moreno created 3 chances in that game. And against Cincinnati, he bossed the game for a long stretch of it. Not just what he did going forward. He gets the goal on the penalty, showing the confidence. He created an opportunity as well. He was instrumental in opening up the opportunity on the first goal, but he also won 4 tackles. This is a guy who is involved in all phases of play. He's dangerous on the dribble. He's dangerous in the build-up. He's a very good passer. He's a very good defensive player, and he's increasing in confidence in the final third. And getting a goal this early in his Atlanta tenure is a really good thing for him.
I agree. It's I'm interested to see what he does next year. And, even the rest of this year, because I think with a whole offseason integration, new manager, you're kind of wiping the slate clean after a really weird-ass season that is 2020 and a weird-ass calendar year of 2020. You get guys healthy, you kind of cleanse your mind a bit after everything. I want to see what he does playing with, especially with a monster like Joseph, who you're hoping comes back. And even if, let's get out there that, Joseph tears his ACL. I think Joseph comes back and he's just fine. Even if he's not, let's say he's works his way back into it and he starts at 75%. 75% of Joseph is still better than 99% of the players you're going to find in this league at that position. And man, that's a step up from, what he's probably going to be seeing lined up with him, game in and game out right now. And it's no disrespect to Kubo or to Adam John or John Gallagher, but man, stats is stats, is talent is talent. Joseph Martinez is just a damn monster. And I want to see what he looks like when he can line up with that, get more chemistry with a guy like Barco, if it's going to be Barco here next year. Jürgen Damm still, saying he's not 100%. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of powder you can put in the keg for Atlanta United's offense going forward. And Marcelino Moreno is just, as he continues to improve, it gets the potential gets even more volatile in a good way, to belabor this analogy.
Well, and, Jarrett, you were talking about it, and Jason, you were as well, with the quotes from Caleb Porter after the Orlando match about a team being tired, Jonathan Mensah putting in all the minutes. I think, Jarrett, one of the other things I'm looking forward to is seeing all of the speed that is there for Atlanta United at its disposal. When we've seen it in the last couple of matches with Jurgen Damm out on the right, putting folks on skates in the last couple of matches. Then you've got Moreno with how he is in the middle, and then you're seeing whether it's John Gallagher on the left and Barco and all these different elements. I think that can really put Columbus, because of this speed and because of Columbus having played as much as they have with all the minutes that's out there for them. I think being able to put them on their heels, I think it will be an interesting watch because of all of that.
Yeah, it's and remind me, who was it from Cincinnati who we need to like still hold a eulogy for after Jurgen Damm crucified a man for as long as he was on the field? Who was that?
Was it Andrew Gutman? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Andrew Gutman. God, what a really crappy year for Celtic in general. Celtic Loney. Man, because he just kind of like put Gutman on like a stretcher and just stretched him out until his bones were pretty much dusted. You talk about the speed, and it's just going to be interesting for me in the way you approach it managerially, because I think if you're Stephen Glass, you're going to all these guys and you're saying, hey, this is our do or die. There is no tomorrow for us if we don't get this. I need as much as I can get from every single one of you, and I'm probably going to like squeeze the lemon until not only is there juice is gone, we're probably going to pull the pulp out of you too. Whereas Caleb Porter, I mean, depending on how things go, I don't know. He's not going to – no matter what's going on, I don't think he's going to push Zelarayan and Nagbe harder than he has to. You could be in a situation where Atlanta's really pushing the pedal down, and Caleb Porter's got to make a decision of how important is this game to me versus having those guys.
He's already talking about injury risk. I mean, he talked about injury risk on Wednesday. They're not going to be 100% fully recovered on Sunday. They can't be. So
No,
you're looking at since October 14th, when the games since Columbus was supposed to play in Orlando initially, which was scheduled for the 11th. So that game got pushed back. That's going to end up hurting Columbus in a big way. They've played an extra 90 minutes than Atlanta has in that run of games. Atlanta's played 5. Columbus has played 6 games since the 14th. This is going to be game number 7 for Columbus in that period of time. That's very, very difficult for them to deal with. Now you add Nagbe and Zelarayan coming back from injury into that difficulty. And I don't see them playing 90. Now, the flip side I would say about this game, because of the stakes for Atlanta, is if you see something not working, you're going to be careful about how hard you squeeze the orange here, because you're going to have to make a decision really quickly how much juice you think is left. And if you come to the conclusion that Jurgen Damm can only go 60, that's all he's got, it's diminishing returns after that, you got to make the sub as quickly as possible. You've got to be decisive in those moments. And we see it all the time in these situations. You see it in knockout games. You see it in these kinds of matches where managers will make a sub earlier than they normally would. They will catch the commentators by surprise. They'll catch everybody by surprise. That can happen in this one. It's a lot easier to make that decision with 5 subs. If you get to that point and you say 60 minutes of Jurgen Damm is the best we can get, Jurgen, we want you to give everything you have in that 60. Don't even think about playing the whole 90. Jake Mulroney's going to come in and finish it out for you. He's going to come in fresh and run at the guys that you've ground down in your 60. Jake's got you. Give us everything you have in 60. I think you're going to have to look at that a little bit here. You've got Miles Robinson back in the mix, at least available, but I don't think he starts because we don't know how much he's trained this week. You've seen Meza and Escobar look good last week. You can roll with that, but if you have any shakiness or you decide, hey, they're playing 2 up top, Zelarayan staying up high, it's looking more like a 4-4-2. Let's get a third guy on. Let's bring on Miles Robinson. You might do that early. You might do that at halftime. You might do that in the first half if you need to. That's what this game is. It's a knockout game.
Your sub bank either, so
if you can do it at halftime, great. So I mean, it's just this is everything is on the table. You can't hold anything back in your pocket in a game like this because this is an elimination game for Atlanta United. You lose, you're out. You draw, you need all the help in the world to get there. You can't expect it. You got to win. Whatever it takes to get that win, you've got to do it. And if that means you got to make subs early because it's not working, do it. If you get a lead and there's no more goals coming, sit, defend, whatever it takes. I don't care about style. I don't care about judges. I don't care about storylines. All that matters is a win. That's it.
If I can turn the tables now on you and John both, and John, I'm going to take the inside the actor studio position now.
Okay, Mr.
And ask you questions.
Sure.
God rest him. For you guys, who is the X factor for Atlanta? If you got to pick one guy off that Atlanta roster.
Ooh, X factor. Let's see. If I'm going to go, but for me, the X factor lends itself to the notion of someone who isn't part of your normal thought pattern. So I guess by that, I would say probably Jeff Larentowicz, because I think you're going to need that kind of veteran stabilizer at the back to help you keep the lead that I'm anticipating that you're going to get. If you need the win, you get that goal on the board, you're going to need that veteran stabilizer at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and take that step with a lead and go Jeff Larentowicz as my X factor.
I think he starts, so I don't know if he's your X factor. I think he has to start because Mo Adams can't play. So
Right.
I think you're looking at him as your 6.
Right.
I think your X factor, I'll go really off the board for the X factor because I think Atlanta does get the first goal, and they're going to come to a decision where you're going to have to batten down the hatches a little bit and defend. I think it could be Edgar Castillo becoming available again, because that gives you some interesting flexibility depending on those fatigue levels. If you make the decision, you know what? We want an extra steady hand as a defender. Castillo's been in these situations in his career plenty of times. Let's bring him on. And if that means Bello plays on the left wing, who can drop and make it a line of 5 when you need to, great. Castillo gives you that little bit of extra and that veteran presence that would be nice to have just in case you need it.
I'm fine with all of that. I'm fine with all of those.
Then, and secondarily, though, if you're not going to let me have my theory of Jeff Larentowicz, considering he would start,
well, I think he has to start. That's the only thing. Is I think he's going to start because of the Adams absence.
Okay, so then what I'll do is, if Jeff is starting, I'll go X factor, and I'll mention somebody that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Jake Mulroney, because if we're going to see what we think we're going to see with Jurgen Damm, if Jurgen Damm can only give you 60, if someone can only give you 60 or 65 minutes, then with all of the pushing and running and pressure that you can put on Columbus, if you need that extra bit of sprint late in a match, I think that if Jake comes on and continues to grind down those guys that were ground down early, and Jake can give you that 20 or 25 that you're going to need late, I'll say Mulroney then. And I will rescind Jeff if Jeff is starting and go with Jake.
I think there's no other way around it that Jeff has to start. If Mo can't start, I think Jeff is your starter as the holding midfielder. If you were playing somebody else, if this was the case last week, although Cincinnati's a little bit different than they used to be, if you were playing somebody that you thought you would dominate possession on, you could start Moreno, Heineman, Rossetto. I think Rossetto could be that 6 where you don't think you're going to be under a lot of pressure, not literally in a press, but just the other team having the ball a lot, you having to defend a lot. This case, I think you're going to have to defend, so I think you're going to need Jeff Larentowicz. I don't think you can risk it early on anyway to go Heineman and Rossetto, but if you get to a point and it's the 60th minute and you haven't found a goal and you need a little more oomph in the middle of the park, would not surprise me at all to see that trio with Rossetto sitting the deepest and Heineman and Moreno pushing forward. I think you got to start with Jeff.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Lipton, what's your next question?
No, I just wanted to flip it on y'all because I wanted your opinions on that. As far as I'm concerned with it, I just wanted to make you uncomfortable for a minute, John. I mean, as far as I'm concerned with it, like Castillo is a weird shout, but I could see it, especially late in the game, if I need somebody to kind of batten things down a bit. In the fashion of it's an X factor in the sense that I think he's going to be an impact player, but it's not out of left field. I still think John Gallagher has a say in this season before it's all said and done for Atlanta. Like, he's going to get an opportunity to kind of pull them across the finish line at some point. I don't know if it happens or not, but the rise of John Gallagher this year has been from the game in Orlando where he played his tail off and brought a spark to being a guy who just seems to just pop up in the right places at the right time and just plays his tail off. I think he still has a say in what happens at the in the game tomorrow about whether or not this season ends or not, or whether or not Atlanta goes quietly, I should say, because they do need help.
No, I'm digging that answer too. When you look at who else is in your spot shadow, let me ask it this way: whether it's matchups or focal points or things like that, Jared, when you're going to be looking at this match tomorrow, who else is in your spot shadow?
For me, it's whoever they decide to partner with Marcelino Moreno or whoever else is in that midfield. Because we've seen, I really liked what I saw from Rossetto last time when he partnered with him. And I get it. Like, I get that Cincinnati is kind of an island of misfit toys, but you still went and did the job that you were supposed to do, which is something that hadn't always happened this year, and people kind of get complacent about it, in my opinion. But you did the job, and I thought Rossetto at times has really shown well. Whoever it is, whether it's him or Hyman in that midfield, I think one of them has to just kind of grab and hang on for the ride and kind of help control things a bit. And I want to see how they do with that midfield and see if they can kind of boss around a tired Columbus midfield, as I'm searching for the city off the top of my head. Sorry. As they try and boss around a tired Columbus midfield who, again, like I said, I mean, how hard do they push? How hard does Caleb Porter push it? If it's the 60th minute and it's, a 0-0 score or a 1-1 score, does Atlanta kind of push them over the cliff like a herd of buffalo a bit there with their ability to boss things in the midfield? Does Eric Rometti come in and, whether starting or off the bench, and kind of try to give it one last hurrah with his physicality he can bring? He kind of brought some swagger into that Orlando game when Orlando was just passing the ball around. He came in and started tackling people. I like the shout of Jake Mulroney because Jake Mulroney has some fight in him, man. Mulroney is not a big dude. His accent's kind of funny to us, I know. I wouldn't want to meet Jake Mulroney in a back alley, though. There's still enough fight there with those guys that if they get involved, especially some of these younger guys who really kind of came to the forefront this year because they had to for Atlanta, because it was sink or swim, not just for the team, but for these guys. This was an opportunity for John Gallagher and Jake Mulroney to say, hey, I'm in this situation. I got the opportunity. I need to run with it. And, it's a sink or swim for them versus a guy like Manuel Castro, who just could not, who I guess was doing well enough in practice to get the opportunities, and more power to him, but wasn't putting it away in the in-game opportunities. This is not dress rehearsal anymore. And it really hasn't been all season. Man, it's the last chance for some of those guys who have taken strides this year to show me what you've got. Because there's going to be a lot of decisions made this offseason.
Yeah, Castro is an interesting one. I mean, he has gotten into good spots. He's worked hard. You look at production per 90 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of good things about Manuel Castro. He hasn't produced the moments where he's had to, whether it's the killer pass, whether it's the shot on goal. It hasn't happened for him in those moments. The opportunities have been there because he's worked himself into them, but he hasn't made the most of them. Others have. You look at this team on the right side, Jurgen Damm, Brooks Lennon have become a really good combination. That's my area to watch. I think they're going to really give Columbus some problems on their left side. There's no room for Castro there to get significant minutes. Is he a potential option off the bench? Yeah. You're going to get effort out of him. You're going to get hard work. I think he's probably better right now in a situation where you have the lead rather than you're chasing a game, because he's going to work hard. He's going to fight for every loose ball. He's going to get into a tackle. He will throw his body around. He doesn't have the confidence for whatever reason in the final third. He's had opportunities. He hasn't put them away. But if you need him, he's an extra guy you can have. I think the right side comes down to Lennon and Dom and their ability to get dangerous balls into the final third. I think it's going to be Adam John. That's my guess because of the performance he gave.
How poetic would that be?
That'd be amazing. And he stays central. When he stays in the central channel, and I understand why he kind of developed some bad habits early on, where he was trying to make something happen. It was coming from a good place, but he'd drift out wide so often, and he'd make so many unnecessary runs. It's like, just stay central. Stay central. You got guys who can serve you up now. So stay in those zones, and Jurgen Damm will find you. Brooks Lennon will find you. You've got a very dangerous right side against Columbus, who has been, honestly, kind of undecided on their left side. You look back at recent lineups for them, and the last game, it was Waylon Francis who came in and played. The game before, it was Milton Valenzuela who started and played the majority of the minutes. The game before, it was Francis. The games before, it was Valenzuela. It's Valenzuela hasn't played as well here lately. Francis has been okay, but neither one's really locked down the job. And then you're playing Pedro Santos in front of them, and we've talked about Mensah playing a lot of minutes. Pedro Santos is next on that minutes list. He's not somebody who's going to track back and be chasing Brooks Lennon all day. So when you get forward, you've got to make it count. They've got to finish plays. When Brooks Lennon goes, when Jurgen Damm goes, they've got to get chances out of it, get shots on goal, get shots, period. If you give up a goal kick, fine. If you win a corner, fine. Make the play happen, because you can't have those turnovers where you could get caught, because Santos, I think, will stay high.
Yeah, I mean, how good does the damn Brooks Lennon move look now? I mean, I know people want to still think back to the trade that followed after that, but damn, Brooks Lennon's signing looks so good, y'all. I'm so happy to have Brooks Lennon for an extended run. Brooks Lennon could work himself back into the national team picture in a position that has always kind of felt like it was up in the air. Thanks, Brooks Lennon. Thanks, RSL.
He's going to have the opportunity to push for it. I mean, when you're doing what he's done this season, where he has generally been good defensively, still got a little bit of work to do there. Sometimes he still dives in a little too much on challenges and gets himself out of position. Those are things that you can correct. He's really dangerous going forward. He's more dangerous going forward than Reggie Cannon, in my opinion, who might be the guy who has the inside track at right back. Lennon's better going forward. Cannon's better defensively. Lennon's the most accurate crosser in Major League Soccer this year. That's pretty good. You're doing fine there, and he can play in a line of four, which he didn't have before. So that was a very good get to bring in Brooks Lennon from Real Salt Lake. A really good move from this front office, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, Jarrett, let me give you another guy really quickly. The evolution of Mo Adams. I know we're not going to see him tomorrow by all indications, but the evolution of Mo over the last, say, 6 matches or even 6 weeks. What do you think?
So I know I don't have to say this for the people that are on this call, but I mean, for the Twitch pitch and for anyone listening afterward in the Twitter world, I know I don't have to say this for the three of us, because I don't know, aside from people on the team who have watched Mo Adams more than the people on this call in the last year plus, with the twos and now with this. I'm so happy for Mo Adams. I'm so happy with what Mo Adams is now. Man, keep Mo Adams, and I don't know if you're starting him week in and week out. Man, you got Mo Adams for $100,000 of Monopoly money from Chicago because they didn't know what to do with him. And you know what? Cool, man, that Veljko Paunovic seems to have figured himself out overseas. But, man, y'all didn't know what to do with him. We got it. Don't worry. We figured it out. I love Mo Adams.
He's just constantly developing. I mean, he's better and better on the ball, and you're seeing how dynamic he can be in that central midfield in these last few matches. You could really use him tomorrow. Stephen Glassy said he's not as available. He's not going to be back for a couple of weeks after. Didn't go into detail on the injury. Could be quad, could be groin, could have been a hip flexor even. Really hated to see it, and luckily you got a veteran in Jeff Larentowicz who can step in and see the job get done.
Yeah, and there's at this point, like, I don't, and that's another thing I've got is, are we watching Jeff Larentowicz's swan song?
I think so.
Because
I don't know anything, but too. I think so.
I'm with you. I don't have there's no inside information here when I'm asking that question. I'm not digging for anything. I'm not suggesting anything. I don't know anything. But, man, if you asked me straight up, I would say yeah. And, God save him. I mean, it's been an amazing career. And if he chooses to keep going, more power to him. But, man, if this is Jeff Larentowicz's swan song, that's a hell of a Major League Soccer career that I don't know if it's going to get enough credit for what it's been in terms of production and evolution and, how it might finish out. One of the best free kick takers this league has ever seen. Came into an expansion team and really anchored the damn thing down. Like, more power to him if this is the swan song.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it should be a motivating factor tomorrow because the guys who have been here just this season, the guys who have been here for a couple of years, should be the ones who are making sure that everybody knows, because Jeff's not going to make it about him. That's not his style. But they should know that, yes, that it is very possible that this is Jeff's last match, period, because he could retire at the end of the season. It could be his last match here, and they can't send him out on that way. They have to leave everything on the field to try to give him more opportunities to play in that shirt. And that should be a rallying cry tomorrow, even though Jeff won't want that to be the case. Yeah. That should be something that players understand. And when you're looking at that one last run that you got to make at the end of the match to see it out, or that one last push to go find a winning goal, that should be where your energy's coming from.
Yeah. And with that, I am actually going to jump a bit early, but I will leave you with a prediction if you're looking for one.
Yes,
go for it.
After all this is said and done, and after all the hot air I've spewed in the last 50 minutes, man, I'm thinking it's a 1-1 draw. And I don't think it's going to be lack of effort. I think it's going to be the same thing that has let Atlanta down all year, and that is just finishing in the final third. I think they're going to create chances. I think they'll create turnovers. I think they'll get burned once when they get broken on a press, when they try and close down, and then they will give up a goal. But I think they'll find one. But I don't know if they'll be able to find the second one, even though they'll create the chances just because of the finishing this year. And I think it ends 1-1.
Thanks for leaving us on a downer, Jarrett. You have a good rest of the night, sir. Thanks, Jarrett. Thanks.
What do you got then?
2-0.
Oh, okay.
2-0.
Thanks for leaving me on an upper.
2-0. I'm not all that impressed with Columbus lately. I don't think they're fit. I don't think they are playing well. I think they're kind of stuck in between being a counter team and being what they were before when they were playing at their best, which was a dominating possession team. I think they're going to try to get Harrison off full forward, and George Bello will have his hands full. But I think he can handle it, and I think Atlanta can really punish Columbus down that right side. I'm expecting assists from Dom and Lennon.
I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't think Atlanta's going to have a problem creating chances. I just think it's going to be finishing in the final third, and it's just going to be kind of hit and miss at times. I'm more than happy to be wrong, and you can play this back Monday morning if I'm wrong. I will do that.
I hope you're wrong, Jarrett.
I hope you're wrong, Jarrett.
I hear that a lot, like a lot.
Shouldn't be surprised by now.
No, I'm not. It's okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go enjoy my night. Get up at 7 a.m. and watch the hell out of some Scotland.
There you go.
You do that, and then hopefully you will have an enjoyable match that kicks off at 3:40 tomorrow.
I want a new manager.
Can't wait to hear about it on the Celtic show, Jarrett.
Yes, on Celtic Down Here on Monday night.
Yes.
Jesus. All right. Y'all take care of yourselves.
Good night, Jarrett. All right. Couple of final things on the Twitch pitch. A lot of people think this could be Jeff Larenowitz's last season in Atlanta. I kind of think it might be too. I think it might be his last season period as a pro. That's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about right back for the U.S. men's national team and who Brooks Lennon could be trying to beat out. You're talking Reggie Cannon. You're talking Timmy Chandler. You're talking maybe Serginho Dest if he moves over to the right side. Maybe DeAndre Yedlin. Maybe Tyler Adams if they keep the right back experiment. But I think Berhalter's come to his senses there. Gustavo's with us. He says he thinks it's Big Red wants to retire. I'm kind of in the same boat as well. Winter Wind hates to be that guy, but kind of wants to see Larentowicz go destroyer on Nagbe. Hey, it's not 100%. So, if you got to get stuck into a tackle one good time, and that's the game, man. That's the game. Like, Darlington understands that. Yeah. If Jeff has to go in hard on a tackle, he's not going to back out of a tackle just because he likes somebody. He might hit him harder because he likes somebody.
Yeah. Business is business, bottom line, especially on a decision day.
That's it. Hutcho says, hell, at least we're spending a lot more time in the final third than we were just 4 or 5 games ago. It's been a little bit longer than that. It's been up and down since the Dallas game. The Dallas game felt like a change for this team. They've played differently since then. They haven't been able to consistently maintain it. The Orlando game was the one where they had the most chances. They created 10. DC and Toronto before that, it was like 6 or 8. Red Bulls before that, it wasn't enough chances created. That Orlando loss was maybe the best they've looked in the attack. Now, Cincinnati, you got the goals early, so things changed. The game changed, so you have to factor that in. I think you could have created more chances if you had needed to, but you were in a good spot. I'll take that. If you get an early goal, I will absolutely take that. It allows you to breathe a little bit on a day where the longer you go without a goal, the tighter your throat's going to get trying to breathe because you have to win. Columbus can potentially, depending on the other game, be fine with a draw. Columbus is going to the postseason. They're not going to risk Zelarayan's long-term health. They're not going to risk Nagbe's long-term health. They've got bigger things in mind. They want to win. But if it's not there for them, they'll sit back. They'll look to play on the counter. They'll relax. You don't have that luxury. You have to go for a win, and if it's not there for you immediately, you got to risk it even more. If it's still not there, you got to throw all caution to the wind.
Yep.
You want to get an early goal to where you can breathe. That's the biggest thing about this game to me.
Yeah, and that's I'm right there with you. I think that you get that early goal, then honestly, that's all you need. And then you maintain. You defend.
No.
What?
I thoroughly disagree with you. You're not going to get a goal and sit back and defend. It's not all you need. You need to control the game. That you're going to need to still attack. This is not a team that can sit and bunker after getting a goal. No, I disagree with you. That is a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
You need to get a goal first so you can play. Yes. Not so you can sit and defend, so you can play. You can knock the ball around. You can make them chase you a little bit. You can play with some comfort. That's what you need because you're not going to feel comfortable walking onto the field. You can't. It's stressful because you got to win. Luckily, the weather is going to be great, it looks like. It's not going to have any effect on that. You need to get an early goal so you can play. You're only talking about sitting and defending late if you have a lead. And I'm talking like final 10 minutes and less. Right. No way in the world would you get a goal in the first half and then start to play just defensively. No way in the world. That is how you lose games. The second goal scored is far more important than trying to protect the one goal you have. It always is. The numbers back it up. That's what's needed. If you get one, go get a second and put the thing away. And for Atlanta, the second goal has always been critical for them. When they get 2 goals in a match, period, anywhere, 2 goals, 52 wins, 5 losses, 7 draws. When you score twice, you're winning 52 times, you're losing 5 times, 7 draws. On the road, you get 2 goals, 18, 4, and 2. You got to get the second goal.
Yeah.
You don't get one and then you sit and defend. No way, because you run that risk of giving up one and then you're screwed.
Okay. Yeah. Stats back it up.
No, the soccer backs it up.
Well, what I'm saying is you present the number.
But
You say soccer. You said soccer backs it up, and then the numbers you sit there, you win 90% of the time when you score that second goal. That's what I'm saying.
But it's not even just an Atlanta thing. Like it's the game. Like you look at any team really, and you're going to have those kinds of numbers. Like you have to go for the second goal. This team, while good defensively, isn't playing with the confidence defensively to lock it down after getting a goal. This is not, Italy in 1982. It's not that team. You got to be. This is a team that wants to play on the front foot. You get a goal, you can play more freely, and it allows you to play your game a little bit more. But you just can't sit back and defend, because if you do that, and you give up a goal that gets off a deflected shot, you give up a goal off a set piece, you give up a goal off of a turnover, then you're screwed, because then you're trying to reignite the flame that you already put out.
Right.
That never works.
Yeah.
You gotta, if you get a goal, keep playing. You can be comfortable, but keep playing. And if you can get a second, you should win. Period.
Broadcast plans for tomorrow.
So we're on Star 94. Don't forget, if you're listening on your radio, it's 94.1 on the FM dial. If you are listening on radio.com, go to Star 94, do the search. We will be there. If you're listening on the Atlanta United app, they'll do all the work for you. You just go to where you always go to. We're on at 3 o'clock with the Five Stripes Countdown. Kickoff will be at 3:40, and we'll have the full-time report following afterwards. We'll also keep you updated on the other 2 games that affect Atlanta tomorrow, the game in D.C., the game in Chicago. We'll have scoring updates. We'll have all that ready to go for you. AT&T Countdown to Kickoff will be on Atlanta United social media channels, probably about 2:30 with the lineup, 2:30, 2:40. So be on the lookout for that. And it's going to be a stressful afternoon, especially if Atlanta doesn't score early.
Yeah. But thanks to Jarrett, as always. Thanks to you for everything that is over your left shoulder. Did we cover all the topics over your left shoulder and everything in the Twitch pitch?
I believe so.
Okay, so then that's a show. Jason goes to rest his voice. He's going to go study some more. I can guarantee you that, before he and Mike have the call on Star 94 tomorrow. That is another round of the run-up. That is the last regular season run-up of the year. Hopefully we have some more of them. But Atlanta's got to get some help. You win, you do your part, get some help, you're in the postseason. That's what you're looking for, this opportunity. 5 teams, 2 spots, Atlanta United tomorrow, going up in the last game of the year against Columbus Crew. Thanks for hanging out with us for another round of the run-up. Play it safe. Mucha plata, y'all.